Before we begin, I just want to give a brief overview for anyone who's watching this, so they'll appreciate what we're doing. The board's here tonight to work together with all you property owners, neighbors, architects, to continue the tradition that allows community members to work together to preserve the qualities and unique character that make Lake Forest a special community. We recognize the personal importance of each petitioner's request. Our goal is to respect the requests of the owner while balancing the interests of the community as a whole. For those of you who might not be familiar with the Zoning Board of Appeals, the board hears all requests for variations in zoning and special use permits. The City of Lake Forest is committed to conducting open meetings. To achieve this goal, the board has adopted special meeting procedures that ensure that all parties have an opportunity to speak. The procedures are detailed on the agendas that are available at the back of the room. This meeting is also broadcast on local cable television. Speaking on behalf of the entire board and city staff, our goal is to move each petition through the review process as quickly as possible, while at the same time balancing the interests again of the petitioners, neighboring property owners, and the larger community. Thank you. Before we get into our agenda items, I'm going to ask that the board introduce themselves. And we'll start at the right.
Mike Edelman, 4th Ward.
Cardy Davis, 3rd Ward.
Bill Ransom, 2nd Ward.
And Kent Novid, I represent the 1st Ward.
Ted Notes, 2nd Ward.
Angela Dedal, 4th Ward.
Dan Jessica, 4th Ward.
And I'm going to ask also that city staff introduce themselves.
Megan O'Neill.
Peter Crutot.
Thanks, Megan, Peter. And it looks like we have our architect present. Okay. Thank you. Before we get to item 3 on the agenda, which would be a new petition, we do have one item before it, and it would be the approval of the January 28th, 2008 meeting minutes. And those minutes have been distributed to my fellow board members. And I'm going to ask my fellow board members if there's any corrections that they note should be made to the meeting minutes as have been presented. And, no comments made and no corrections proposed by any of my board members, any other people on the board. I'm going to ask if there's any petitions or proposals as towards the approval of those meeting minutes.
I move to approve the minutes as proposed.
Second.
And I'm going to ask that all those in favor of adopting the meeting minutes as submitted, say yes.
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 All those opposed, say no. The meeting minutes as submitted for the January 28th, 2000 meeting are adopted unanimously. At this point, we're going to go to item 3 on the agenda, which would be a new petition, residential. It's a request for the approval of a variance from a side yard setback requirements to allow construction of an addition to the residence at 827 Oakwood Avenue. And at this point in time, I'm going to ask board for a declaration or any conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts. And I'm going to start again with Mike to the right.
None.
None? Nope.
And for sake of it, I did go to the site. I did talk to the petitioner. I'm acquainted with the architect. I don't believe this is going to create any conflict, and I can be objective in hearing this petition.
I as well know the architect and petitioner have discussed this project. When I toured the site, the petitioner was actually at his home and we discussed it, but there's nothing that I feel would prohibit me from objectively looking at this petition.
I also briefly spoke to the homeowner when I visited the site, but I do not believe that will present a conflict.
No conflicts over ex parte communications.
Thank you. Before we hear the petition itself, I'm going to ask that all persons who are going to be testifying during the course of this petition step forward to be sworn. Okay, and would you both identify yourselves?
P.J. O'Neill, homeowner.
Okay, and Mr. Rollison and Mr. O'Neill, would you put up your right hands? Do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge? Thanks. And being sworn, at this point, we're going to go to the section of the petition, which would be the presentation by the petitioner. And there is a time limit of 20 minutes that, if possible, we'd like to stick to.
Hopefully I can keep it under
Thanks.
that. Thank you for allowing me to come in front of you today. I'll just kind of dive right into it. We're looking to put in a two-story addition on the east side of our house. Unfortunately, the type is not that large right now, but it's an existing two-story, 1,755 square feet residence. It was originally built in 1928, has vinyl siding and a wood shingle roof, and it does not meet the required side yard setbacks as it is. The addition we undertook in response to the foundation wall in our northeast corner is failing due to a previous addition that was put on it. When we noticed this, we thought it'd be a good time to expand the house and make it a little more livable as a family. We're also adding another bedroom, so we will keep it at 4 bedrooms, turning a smaller bedroom into a closet. It mimics the existing setbacks as they are, and it keeps the design elements we have already in the house intact. And all the new materials will match the existing materials, and all calculations are well within city guidelines. If you look at it, the dotted line inside the overall property is what the house would be if it were 100% conforming as it stands. That would be kind of our allowable building lot. So we just kind of wanted to show you this to show you that really nobody conforms within the entire neighborhood. Here is the existing site conditions as they are now. We're not changing the front elevation or the southwest elevation. The existing on the northeast corner, the one-story addition will be demolished due to the failing foundation wall that I mentioned earlier. The existing east elevation, we want to preserve the existing sunroom, as I pointed out to a few of you when you stopped by, the design element, which is all the windows. And we want to preserve as much of the contiguous yard as we possibly can. This was the first alternative that we looked at within the designs. So that it would be conforming from the side yard setback from our northernmost neighbor. And it really kind of disrupts the flow of what we're looking to gain within the house, and it takes out a large portion of the sunroom, which is the design element, and it also, we'd have to be in front of you for a zoning variance from the garage. That's that. Here's another possible alternative, which keeps us within the zoning regulations, but as you can see, we'd have about an 8-foot wide addition, which wouldn't really work too well. This is what we would like to do. It keeps the windows intact and the sunroom intact. We come in a little bit from the existing side of the house, but it keeps the flow of the house, all the design elements intact that we're really looking to have to keep the flow of the house. And it also keeps a continuous usable yard that we'd like to have. The one negative it may have, that it does have, it encroaches into the required side yard setback by 5 feet. the finalized landscape plan, while it's not done, this kind of, you can see it reflects the request by the city staff to have the screening along the north face of the house, which those of you who came by were some arborvitae that we have up that are about 10, 12 feet tall, that if it's not arborvitae, it will be something that screens that the north addition. These are our existing demolition plans from the outside of the house and what we'll need to dig up. Sorry you can't read all this, but it's probably more verbiage than you really need. This is the upstairs demo that we'll be taking down and kind of reconfiguring, and the roof line demo. For the proposed plans, we have taken the bay window out, as the city staff noted in their letter. It was a design element we kind of liked, but absolutely not a necessity. So, no problem taking it. Here's just kind of a smaller mock of the upstairs floor plan and the size of the bedroom, and turning one of the other bedrooms into a larger closet for that bedroom and more of a workroom. Here are the proposed elevation. You'll note there's no change on the front elevation, which is the top picture. That's the northern looking elevation, which just sticks out. So it kind of stays in line with the garage, continuous look to a degree. Here's the rear facing elevation, which is the top picture. Changes the facade a little bit, but it kind of keeps a continuous look. You all were back there, it kind of looks the same. And the northern looking, or the southern looking elevation, which is the bottom picture, you'll see we've kind of drawn in where the tree screening is going to be. Here is the existing elevations as you can see them, and what it'll look like in the back. Obviously that giant green bush in the middle below picture will be gone. Actually kind of excited about. And the far bottom right picture is the crumbling foundation, just so you can get a look at it, see what kind of caused this whole thing. Is that it? Oh. Any questions?
Well, we'll get to that
Okay.
part in a few seconds.
Sure.
Now, I appreciate the presentation, very thorough. We're going to go to the section, though, where we're going to identify any issues that the city
Okay.
staff might have. So if you want to take a few seconds, questioning will come after that. I'm going to ask city staff again to present any issues that they might have.
Thank you, Chairman Novit. This property is located on the east side of Oakwood, just to orient you, a few properties north of Wisconsin Avenue. It's in a neighborhood that contains an older housing stock. A lot of the homes were built prior to the current R1 zoning requirements. In this case, the home is non-conforming with respect to the side yard setback requirements on the north and south side of the property. The code requires a 10-foot setback, and currently the home on the north side is set back approximately 3.5 feet from the property line. When this project first came in, the petitioner's initial desire was to maintain that setback, the 3.5-foot setback, and staff encouraged the petitioner to look at alternatives that would allow for additional landscaping to be installed between the properties and to lessen the encroachment than what exists today. So in your packet, there are some alternatives that were looked at, some that comply completely, some that lessen the encroachment. And I think ultimately this is a balance between good design and meeting the zoning requirements, and staff is supportive of the project that's before you today. The petitioner did note in his presentation that he's going to move the bay window on that elevation. That is a recommendation that's in the staff report. One of the conditions of approval spoke to that. So We find that a positive alteration. There's also a letter of support in your packets from the neighboring property that's probably the most impacted with this request. Towards the back of your packets, she did write a note, and I think she'll appreciate the landscape screening that we're also recommending as a condition of approval. There are, let's see, just one point of clarification, I guess. The setback that's noted on the site plan is for a 5-foot setback, and that's measured from the property line to the foundation or the wall of the addition. In reality, the setback is measured from the edge of the eave, so the variance that you'd be approving tonight would be for a 4-foot, 2-inch setback from the property line. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time. There are positive findings in the staff report and 2 recommended conditions of approval, being that the petitioner already removed the bay window from the design. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. At this point, we're going to go to the section of the petition, which would be requests for clarifications from the board to the petitioner and the staff. And, well, going to go from the right. We'll start with you, Mike.
None.
I've got a couple of comments. First, I'd like to compliment the petitioner on the excellent detailed petition that you presented to us tonight with the alternatives. In many cases, we hear that alternatives have been looked at, but we rarely get the detail that shows exactly what you've done. So we very much appreciate that. I also think it's very positive that the neighbor that is most affected by what you would like to do goes along with it and is approving you doing what you are asking us to approve tonight. I do have a question for staff, though, is I don't understand why the bay window, why they were asked to remove the bay window, primarily because of the fact that it does not encroach as much as the existing building does right now. So why was that, why did you ask that that be removed?
Sure. I think that by removing the bay window, you're allowing more space between the proposed addition and the neighboring property, both visually and also allowing additional landscaping to be placed there. If you have a bay window projecting into the side yard closer to the property, you don't necessarily, or you probably won't be planting evergreen screening in front of that window. So I think there was a balance between providing the appropriate screening and getting a setback that was, less than what was existing on the site.
But I think there's evergreen screening right now between the existing home and that fence. So even with the bay window, there would be more space than currently exists. So I still ask the question, why remove it? If it's something that the petitioner would like to have.
And that is something that the board is able to discuss. I think that what's presented tonight does not have a bay window. I think they reworked the design to a point where it's not part of their proposal. But it was a recommended point in the staff report.
Okay, no further questions.
Megan, I just have a question about these recommendations, and I don't, probably doesn't impact on the petition at all, but under recommendation 3A, it says a note shall be placed on the landscape plan stating that approval of plan is for planting only in any driveway, piers, gates, et cetera, and stuff. What was the purpose of that? Is there something that the city anticipates that we aren't aware of, or?
That's a standard note that we put with the conditions of approval, just because oftentimes plans come in with other items noted on a landscape plan, and we just want to make sure that what we're looking at is the plantings and not the driveway configurations or walls or fences that are being placed on the plan as well. Those require additional permits that would, not to say that they're inappropriate or not permitted, but they just require a different review.
So when we say, when you say separate approval by city staff?
Correct, through a permit process.
Okay, that's the only question I have, thanks.
Okay, and I follow my tradition, I'll pass and wait till the end.
I'd actually like to take Cardy Davis's thoughts a step further. And Megan, you had indicated that the petitioner's preference would have actually to have had the addition have the same setback as the existing house. Is that correct? From the site plans that I'm seeing, we're talking less than 1.5 feet difference. And where I'm going with this is that I honestly am not sure how much more plantings you're going to get in that 1.5 feet. And if the petitioner needed that extra space and the design worked out, is there a real need to have that setback?
I think you also want to look at the construction of the addition to make sure that any overdig or construction activity doesn't encroach into the neighboring property as well. And a 5-foot setback gives you a little bit more buffer than a 3-foot setback would. So that was part of that recommendation as well.
Okay, that's actually all I have. Very nice plan, guys.
Okay. One more thing following up on those other, then I guess this is more for the petitioner. When you discussed the plans with the neighbor to the north, did you have the bay window in the plans at that point, or had you already taken them out? Was she aware that that was a potential?
If memory serves, I believe they were in.
Okay,
They were in the plans.
okay. So when she saw it and thought it was great, those were already in there? Okay,
Yes.
thank you, that's
You're
all.
I don't have any questions.
And I've been told by my board members that I talk too much, so I'll try to keep this short. But I like the project. I like your dog. Bulldog did examine me thoroughly, so I felt a little pressure to approve it. But for the sake, my concern is on the vegetation, and I think the city has addressed the issue. I want to make sure there's sufficient screening for the neighbor to the north. Right now, the house is set back very far on the lot. In the future, I could envision probably another house possibly being developed. So I think it's kind of good for everyone's privacy that we do have the best possibility of maintaining the vegetation, which would be not having the bay window there. With the arborvitae, or the trees that are on the side yard to the north, I think there was an indication, at least when I had a conversation, that some of those might be transplanted during the course of the construction project. And again, my concern would be that during the transplanting process, that they actually survive. They're going to be going through some shock. I think the city's recommendations show that there's a bond that's being posted to make sure that there is a fund so the vegetation can be put in. I have no other comments. I like it. The house is being adapted to grow with the community. Again, thank you for your petition. Do any of my fellow board members have any follow-up comment before we pass on to the next section? None being indicated, we're going to go to the next step in the petition, which would be allowance for public testimony. And aside from the petitioner and his architect, there's 3 people that are present. Do any of the persons who are present wish to testify in the course of this petition? Do you just want to say something? There being no indication, we're going to go to the next section, which would be the area that would be for opportunity for cross-examination. And city staff indicating there were no petitions submitted for opportunity to cross-examination. We'll go to the next area, which I think might be fairly short, but this would be final questions from the board to petitioner or staff. Again, is there any wish for any of my fellow board members to address city staff or the petitioner at this point?
Yeah, I've got one for the petitioner. The bay window, is this something that you would like or you don't care about?
Honestly, Cardy, it's not an integral part to what we're doing. We like to look at it, the look of it, original designs, but it's by no means a deal breaker.
And is there any other comment from board to petitioner or staff at this point? And not hearing anything, we're going to go now to petitioner opportunity for rebuttal. And if you wish to put anything further in front of the board, questions, it's your opportunity to get one more word in if you wish.
I guess the only thing that I'd like to say is those of you who came by saw the condition of some of those arborvitae by the grill. They're not in the best condition, so inevitably some of them may die. We fully intend to put replacements in there, whether it's arborvitae or not. It will be something tall enough to screen and full enough to screen from the neighbors.
Thank you. And next section of the petition would be, again, opportunity for staff response to public testimony. There being no public testimony, we're going to move past that section. There is an opportunity for final comment from the board. And do any of my fellow board members wish any opportunity to have any comment, questions, anything in regard to this petition? Again, there being nothing, we're going to move to the next section, which would be opportunity for board action on the petition as submitted. And is there any motion that we have as far as the petition is presented?
I'd move to recommend adoption of the findings of fact of staff and the recommendation to grant the variances requested, subject to conditions 2 and 3.
Those would be the conditions noted in the staff report?
Correct.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
And at this point, I'm going to ask for board action. All those who wish to approve the petition as submitted or move to say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. Petition passes 7-0. And thank you for your petition. And good luck with your project. We're going to go to the fourth area on our agenda, which would be opportunity for the public to address the Zoning Board of Appeals on non-agenda items. And again, there being, aside from the persons who just submitted petition, 3 members of the public who are present, do you wish to address the board on any non-agenda items? And opportunity for members of the audience to speak. And there being none, we're going to pass to the 5th area on the agenda, which would be additional information from city staff. And is there anything that you wish to add?
2 quick comments. First of all, your next regularly scheduled meeting would end up falling on Memorial Day, Monday. So that meeting is moved to Thursday, May 29th.
Thank you.
And then secondly, with all of the interest in this year's political contest, the election, we've gotten a number of calls and inquiries recently into what the city's rules and regulations are regarding political signs. So I thought for the interest of anybody at home watching, I would give a brief review of what the city's rules are so that everybody is familiar with those. And we'll have these posted on the city's website as well. First of all, election signs may go up starting August 29th. That date coincides with the official date that the state certifies the ballot. So not until August 29th. They need to be removed immediately after the election. Signs need to be located entirely on private property, not within the city's public right-of-way. So in many cases, that will mean that signs will need to be stepped back 15 to 20 feet from the street edge so that it's on private property. Property owners are permitted 1 sign per candidate or issue. and signs can be up to 6 square feet in size and 4 feet in height from grade to the tallest part of the sign. So if anybody has any questions or wants more information, they can contact the Community Development Department, and again, this information will also be on the city's website.
Peter, when you say that the signs have to be taken down right after the election, does this mean after the Supreme Court has decided? Or does that mean after the day after the election, or?
The day after the election.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, and Dan, do you have any questions, or?
Oh, no, I'm clear.
Okay, just want to give you opportunity.
Gonna have all my signs out.
Yeah.
But not till August 29th.
Putting up the signs.
And I appreciate it. Actually, my wife was asking for definition on that. And you've answered a question, you've taken the pressure off me. At this point, I'm going to ask the board, there being really nothing else on our agenda, if at this point there's a motion to adjourn, if any of my fellow board members would like to end this meeting.
So move.
And not so fast, because it is Kent's last meeting as the chairman, so, but I guess I'll second the motion anyway.
We can have discussion.
Thanks for stretching it out 2 extra seconds. And I truly enjoyed being on the board. I believe this is my last meeting, and truly, I've enjoyed every moment of it. It's not a burden to serve on the boards, and I'm going to miss it. I've enjoyed these meetings all the way through, enjoyed staff, my fellow board members. It's, yeah, I mean, makes me happy. I hope at least people who've come before the board, well, thanks again. And before the tears start welling, we're going to vote on motion to adjourn. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. No. Just want to stretch out the meeting a little bit. But motion is carried 6-1. I can't leave. The meeting is closed at this point. Thank you again for your time. Good luck with your project.
You didn't whistle or anything?
Have another tooth and fall out.